that much of a time watcher.
We're going to jump right into this. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Take a Space Podcast. I'm your host, Leah, joined by my co star, Jason.
Hello, am I in trouble? She said we're going to jump right into this. I'm about to get dragged and read in that order.
No, I just want to. I didn't really have like a real banter icebreaker, but two, I really wanted to jump into this whole leadership thing
Mhm.
because I feel like so many people want that title, and
Yeah,
very few people want to actually do the work to become a leader. And those who
it's to
are
be a
who
leader.
are
Yeah,
in those spaces of being a natural leader, most of them don't even want, because they know the responsibility that it comes with. Like,
hmm
you're responsible for your team, you're responsible for the job, you're responsible for how you advocate for your team, you're responsible for the business line or whatever it is, whether it's a sports team or in a professional setting, things like
hmm
that. And it's a lot of responsibility to be a leader. Whether you are a team lead, a man, it's not just about micromanaging and telling people what to do.
hmm
It's making sure that you have the people in place that you can trust to do their job. Not that you
yeah,
like trust them, because my thing is always trust but verify, but it's like having the people in place to perform the role to the best of their ability.
yeah,
My eyes just went because I just saw you blur out your background.
yeah. It threw me off too. That wasn't
Oh
supposed to
my
happen.
goodness. Okay.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah. So I think my thing is, and I know I talked about this before, but so many people just want that title as is part of like their hubris, their pride, their arrogance,
Yeah,
their whatever.
just for the title. Yeah,
Yeah, but that title carries so much weight, especially if you're doing it right.
yeah. I've always been the type that like I would prefer to lead in the background. Like I don't need the actual recognition for it really, and
Hmm.
I that may be like a undervaluation of myself, not like
Mm,
not valuing what I want in that moment with being the leader. But
hmm.
I've always been somebody that's just like, okay, I'm good with sort of steering the boat but letting somebody else be the face of whatever is going on. um that's how I've always been, but do go on. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting because especially when I led study groups and things like that. Um, and I just remember like when
Flashback.
I really had this, I always called it like my superpower. I didn't always call it my superpower, but like especially looking back, like that was absolutely my superpower.
Mhm.
Um, being able to pull people together, delegate responsibilities, having everyone feel appreciated and empowered, and especially rallying them together and willing to take on whatever task.
Mhm.
And then it it was so natural to me that by the time I was like, well, I could take on this role, someone was like, no, 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 you've done enough. And I'm like, all I did was say some stuff. Like, I feel like I should have
Have
like
I?
a part in this. And they're just like, no, that was your part. Like, that's what. And I was like, I could just tell people what to do,
But I want to
but
get paid for that.
let me get my hands dirty. But I think for me it was, once I matured, it was more than just telling people what to do. It was being able to see a project flourish,
Yeah.
whether I built it or came in the middle of it,
Mhm.
or revamped it. I just wanted to see a project be great.
Yeah.
So being a part of a group where we can say, okay, I know that I know that you're used to being in the front, but you're not really good in that space. You're getting stagnant. Let's move you to this space. Or
Mhm.
this is not the space that it, okay, so you really don't like this area. Let's move you to an area that you actually like.
Mhm.
Getting to know the team, getting to know what their strengths and opportunities are, understanding what are some triggers, especially understanding triggers. That takes a certain level of emotional intelligence. And it makes more sense to know more about yourself so that when people do have reactions
Mhm.
that are not so positive,
It's a nice way to put
then
it.
right, The people that I would have dragged. Um,
Chapter 1.
oh my gosh. But yeah, when their reactions are not so positive, you can kind of separate your emotions to say that okay, this person is not they're reacting poorly in the situation, but it's not against me.
Yeah.
Whether they like it, whether it is about me or not, I make sure that it's like role focused so that
Yeah.
I stay role focused so that I'm
This is
not
not my reaction. This is a role reaction.
yes, because that helps me to kind of redirect, especially if they're saying, because I had okay, I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but I have to tell this story.
Talk to me.
When I first became a team lead at a bank in a branch, leading the tellers, working in the role of the manager when the manager was on paternity leave, I had an older teller who had been in her role. She might as well have been a pillar in the bank because she had been there for so long. And not a pillar in the community, like a good thing. No, she was part of the sheetrock holding up the bank.
She
Like
founded the bank.
that's what it
She came up with the concept of banks.
But she rallied her and two other people to be against me. And I got the job. I got the job. I applied for it. I wanted it. I was ready for it. And one thing I can't say is she never made me cry. She pissed me off, but she never made me cry.
Good.
This lady took it upon herself to tell me that I was only second best because they offered the role to first, and because she didn't take the role, it was like I was second best, right? And I said, but who's here right now? You obviously weren't going to do it, and you've been here for what, 10 years? No, still part-time. That's what we're doing. No growth at all, just doing the same thing every day. Cool. All right. And then then she texted me one night, and I'm so glad I got rid of these messages. She texted me one night after she said, and she admitted she had a few beers, and texted me that I was a person that didn't take BS. If she showed up late, because she came 3 hours late, my son did this, my husband's doing this, and everything's crazy at home. I'm coming 3 hours late. Well, this is the second time you've done this week, and other people have to work overtime, so I need you to stay. Well, I can't stay. Okay, so we need to readjust your schedule because you keep coming in late and all this other stuff. Talk to her about her performance. We got security points off because she left her drawer and computer open and unlocked. She didn't check IDs like she was supposed to check them. Anytime we implemented any enhancement to any process or procedure, she was always the first one moaning and groaning. And it was such a pain to work with her. She was essentially my first workplace bully. And I never saw her as a bully. I just was like, you can't take her, this old woman.
Please, just a nuisance.
She is, but she texted me and she was just like, you're the weakest link in the branch. The only reason why we're actually surviving is because of me. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You're making all these poor decisions. And like, yes, she went
a hostile work environment.
When I tell you, she went and nobody fought for me. That's the sad thing. Like I now know that I should have taken that straight to HR, but I tried to trust my leadership team, but they were all about politics and they didn't want to take any action. And I was just like, so I pulled her into the office and I said, you will never text me again unless it is work related and an emergency. And at that point, you need to call me from the branch because you will never text me again. And she was just like, well, I didn't curse in it. You can be nasty and not curse. Like,
yeah, sometimes it can be worse than cursing if you use your words right.
So nobody ever reprimanded her. I was like, there's no future in retail. I'm not dealing with petty people who are going to stay stagnant for decades at a time. Like, I'm not dealing with that. We're clearly not going in the same direction.
Taking her frustrations out on you.
Right.
Clearly.
And I'm just like, No, and her perfume was so oh
Yes,
gosh.
now we're getting to the petty parts.
Oh, it was so bad. But her attitude, like as a leader, that really helped me to not take what people are saying personally, because she ticked me off so bad one day. I was just in the back room. She would complain that I would not come to the front to help out, but anytime I came to the front to help out, she, no, 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 I got it. And I'm like, we're not
What
doing
is
this.
it that you really want?
We're not doing it. It's just something to complain about. But as that was my first experience as a leader, and
Mhm.
that year was rough.
Hmm.
That year was rough for about 6 months, and I
You
stayed
said this
stressed
was
out.
Texas, right?
This was in Texas. Yeah.
It's always Texas, man.
Yeah, it was just, and it was people don't think about, they only think about having the title, telling people what to do, and think that people are going to get in line and things like that. But if
Mhm.
you don't think about, like, um if you
The
don't make it a
content.
collaborative environment,
Yeah.
I'll say it that way, and it's more like a dictatorship where you're
Mhm.
some kind of authoritarian who tells people what to do without considering their workload, their capacity, whether
Yeah.
or not it's even feasible. Is it going to achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve? If there are any other paths that we can take to get there,
Mhm.
then as a leader, you won't be as successful as you think you are.
Yeah. You won't be effective. There's beauty in being a leader that can yeah, what is the word? Delegate tasks and stuff,
Hmm. Hmm.
but also stepping back and listening and understanding where your own weaknesses are. And I think strong leaders recognize, like, they can see weaknesses and strengths in people, and so that
Hmm.
way they can balance the team and lead in that way instead of just, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this. That's not even fun for me as a leader. Like in the
Right.
leadership positions that I've had, it's more, let's collaborate, let's communicate, let's see what I can learn from you and what you can learn from me, and how we can put it together and make the path even better, or make the approach even better for whatever we're working on.
I think that's a good thing when you can be that kind of a leader who expects to learn from their team.
Mhm.
Because some people think like I'm in this position because I have it all
Yeah,
together.
the know-it-all, the ha monitor, right?
Right. Right.
There are teachers that are like that, and that's one way that I look at, that I've always looked at it. The teachers that I've had, well, not even think the teachers that I've had, the like when I had my legislative internship,
Mhm.
my both of my supervisors, they were always asking us, even as interns, even though they had like probably 40 years of experience between the two of them, they were always asking us interns who were just going to be there for 1 year, just out of college. They were asking us how to do things, how we would improve things. Even as a teacher for myself, I'm always going into my classrooms, making sure that I'm not standing in the front and just telling students what to do. I'm trying to encourage them to lead the class in their own way and stuff.
Right.
Um, because in any capacity where there's a power balance that's going to happen, if you're just the person that's just there just telling people what to do, there's going to create resentment, and then
Mhm.
you're going to lose people their interest. You're going to lose their will to actually want to contribute to the team in a meaningful way.
It's interesting to me how some people see leadership.
Hmm.
Another side that I do want to talk about is the side of a person has done well at their job and they think that if they can just do their job well, they
Hmm.
can move into a leadership position. You know,
Hmm.
I have come across these so many different times, and it took someone in the process of learning 5 different roles to tell me that if I want this next role, I have to know how to do my job, their job, and the
Yeah.
other department's job that I'm connected with at this
Hmm.
point. And I was just like, you're absolutely right. But some people get promoted, and I don't know what's going on with these companies, but if you are in a leadership position at a company, can we do better at promoting people who are just who because they're good at their job? Like they have exceeded all expectations because
Hmm.
they're good at their job and they just consistently stay good at their job. Now they're trying to be a manager. And that doesn't work because you don't know if they have the people skills, the emotional intelligence, the the wherewithal to delegate, because what I have found is that a lot of these people get promoted into supervisor, team lead, assistant manager, manager, and they're still doing the work of their employees.
Yeah.
There's not a real step back big picture thing where they have to look at the big picture and how that's going to happen.
Mhm.
They're more into the weeds of everything that's going on from a very low level to say, I'm the one who has to hold everything together.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you have to learn to trust your team. You put the people in the right spaces.
Mhm.
And I actually just had a conversation with somebody about this a week or so ago. And I'm like, if you get put in that position where you can be promoted, you should probably take on a mentor, take some leadership courses, understand yourself as far as your emotional intelligence, your confidence, your skills, things like that. There's a lot of things that you need to really think about, because these are the things that you're going to keep coming against as a leader.
Yeah.
And if you don't nip these things in the bud, then what I found is that some people, especially when people pleasers get promoted,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, when people pleasers get promoted,
That's me.
I feel so bad for the team, because that person will stop taking vacation, work through
Mhm.
lunches, work overtime, be the first one in, last one out, and do everybody's work, be everybody's support person. And then at the end of the day, this person is like really burnt out, but they think they're actually like, I'm keeping the team together. I'm keeping
Team
the
is
team together.
thriving. The team is thriving. I'm happy that I've never fallen into that trap, even as a people pleaser.
Mhm.
For me, when with anything to do with work, my people pleasing, it's not really about them. It's more about how can I make as much money as possible. As bad as that sounds, like even when I was teaching 3 classes, mentoring 3, or teaching 2 classes, mentoring 3 classes, and then tutoring in the writing center, that
Mhm.
was a semester where like one of my the person that was the chair of the English department at that time, actually, she was like, you got to start saying no. And all I'm thinking in my mind is, okay, if I say no, I don't get paid. And like,
Mm.
I'm not doing it for you guys. I'm doing it because I might not get classes next semester. But like in my current role, I'm like, if I'm supposed to start at 9:30, I'll start working at 9:31. And if I'm supposed to get off at 7, I'll stop working at 7:01, just so I can be sure that like I do not go over what I'm supposed to work. If I start 30 minutes early, I take an hour lunch instead of 30 minutes. If
Mhm.
I don't take any of my breaks, I take an hour of lunch instead of instead of working late or getting off early or something.
Right.
Um, I'm very mindful of what I put into jobs because like we've talked about extensively, I don't believe in work. I'm very much anti-work. I don't like the idea of having to report somewhere. I
Yeah.
like money. Don't get me wrong. I like things. I like being able to get things.
I like the things that money gets.
Yeah,
I'll say that. I like the
yeah.
things that money
There we go.
gets.
I
Yeah.
like what I can get for money. I like that money can keep me in the house. But I digress. Um, but yeah, I've never run into that problem personally with myself where I feel like I have to do stuff just to keep the our team afloat.
Mhm.
But I see it in my
Mm.
coworkers, probably like 2 or 3 of them, and I'm just like, dial it back. They don't care about you like that. They really don't. And the
I'm sorry,
team
you
is
wanna say that
doing
again? You wanna
they
say that
they do
again?
not care about you. You are expendable. And the team, we're gonna do all right. Like if you take a day off, we will be fine. One of my coworkers who like she trained me and stuff, and she's like the person who's like sort of on my level, but sort of like a little above because she has way more experience than me in this field or in this particular role.
Mhm.
She basically took about like 2 weeks off, like maybe a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday the following week. And everybody was just like in a tizzy, like, oh, what are we gonna do if if she's gone? What are we gonna do? I'm just like, it's probably not that big of a deal, but also like, why are we putting so much on her that it's like if she takes a few days off, the ship is at risk of going under, right?
Right.
Like that's not good leadership. It shouldn't be that if you're removed from the situation, everything's going to fall apart. It should be,
Right.
okay, I'm taking a few days off. You guys know what to do. You guys know how this runs.
Mm-hmm.
Anything out of the ordinary turns up, we can plan for that. But otherwise, you guys know what to do. I shouldn't have to worry about anything.
I
Um,
absolutely agree. Yes.
yeah. So, yeah, what were you gonna say? You look like you have something to say.
I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say.
Go.
Okay, so back to Texas. Before I took on the leadership role,
Is this
I know I talked about the story
is
before.
this the same lady?
No, it's a different lady. Before I took on the leadership role, the interesting thing is, I just thought about this when I first got to that company. That lady was considered my mentor because you have to train with someone for two
Yeah.
weeks before you go to your home branch.
Mm-hmm.
And she was considered my mentor for those 2 weeks. And I was like, this is why I didn't learn anything from you. And
Wait, the
now
first
you're
lady
now
or this new lady?
the lady who was considered my workplace bully.
Okay,
Like I was her mentee, and
the pillar
then
of the
a year
community,
later I became her supervisor.
the founder of the bank. Okay,
But before I got to that branch, I saw in real time how one person having all the knowledge and being the person that we lean on was a terrible thing. It was great that we can use her as a resource and we can go to her,
hmm
ask her questions, get information, like figure out where she learned all this stuff from because she'd been in
hmm
banking for years. Okay, great. When she unfortunately had to leave the branch because of some personal issues.
stole some
And
money. I'm
the
just
thing
kidding.
is,
No, she didn't.
she wasn't like dying or quit or got fired or anything, but she took like 2 to 3 months off.
Hmm.
We struggled. I had to pull out every desk manual, every PPG guide, policies, procedures, guidelines. I had to pull out everything, every piece of paper that I can find on
Mm.
how this branch is supposed to be run.
Mm.
What corners were being cut, what was supposed to be reviewed, what was supposed to be signed off, who has sign off authority, who's coaching who. It took about 2.5 months to get it
Jeez.
finally going, but we were in trouble. I mean, without her being there, and we didn't really have like a solid branch manager. This guy was just like, "Hey, I'm a
Yeah.
branch manager. Like, let me sit in my office and talk with this client for 3 hours." Like,
Mhm.
it wasn't really like an effective leader like in the branch. And so as the lead teller backup, I had to learn everything. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing this with me being the only person because no, I'm not. I want to be able to take days off. There's going to be days when I'm
Yeah.
not here and people need to be able to function. So any role that I have gotten into, I'm like, we need to break silos. Like all these siloed conversation about what's going on, who's doing this, who is doing that. And then we're going to start rotating responsibilities.
hmm
It it sucks when you're in a position where all the knowledge of how everything functions is with one person and you hope and pray that that person is not being sold to the highest bidder,
Right.
right? Because any other industry, you know, financial institution, business, corporation can come and say, "Hey, I want to double your salary because I see the value that you bring."
hmm
Peace. Like I don't have any loyalty to y'all.
Howdy.
And so I'm just like, I even in the role that I am now, there were a bunch of siloed conversation, a bunch of siloed information, a bunch of siloed projects. And I was like, we need more than just two hands in certain
hmm
things because if this person decides to take vacation, who's going to do it?
Right.
You know,
Because then
if
it
this
turns
person,
into a whole thing where it's a 2 week prep for that person's 2 week vacation.
right.
Right.
Now we're spending extra time doing now we're spending extra time doing what is it called, like the whole trainings montage and just hoping that this person retains it for the next week and knows who they can go to, looking and learning how to read the certain things and understand PPGs, understand desk manuals, understand SOPs so that they can get through it. And it's like, no. It should be ongoing training. It should be
Yeah.
ongoing information that is disseminated across the team.
hmm
But having it all stored in one place, it doesn't work.
No,
It
it
doesn't.
doesn't
It
serve
just
anyone.
no, especially if you're more than a 5-person team.
Yeah.
More than one person should know how to do a thing. Like, oh yeah, that's 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 the oven guy. He only knows how to do ovens. Well, yeah, if that guy knows how to do ovens, that's a specialty. That's great. But somebody should be apprenticing him to understand how to do microwaves or how to do refrigerators or how to build tables
His
or
name is Refrigerator Rob, okay? And he only focuses on all the fridges, the mini fridges, the deep freezer,
oh,
anything to do with chill.
you didn't watch The Office.
I not yet. It's on
Okay.
my list of things to
Because I was
watch.
gonna say Rob Vance for refrigeration, and I was like, you have no idea what
I
I'm
started
talking about.
I started Community a few like last week or the
Is
week
that the
before
one
last
with
or something.
Childish Gambino or Donald
Yes,
Glover?
and Joel McHale from The Soup and stuff, and you probably didn't watch The Soup.
The tall white guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
with the hair plug.
Yes.
Um,
I thought those were hair plugs. I wasn't really
yeah,
sure.
if you me and Jordan used to watch The Soup on E. Sorry, we're gonna take a pop culture break for a second. Me and Jordan used to watch The Soup on E, and when it first started, yeah, it was The Soup. So back in the day was Talk Soup. Then they brought it back as The Soup. Joe McHale was the host. He was funny, but he had a hairline that was like what mine would be like if I grew my hair out. It was a little
Mm,
fuzzy.
mm.
And then all of a sudden, he came back maybe like 2 or 3 seasons in, and it was like, whoa, he has hair. That's not, it's like a Jamie Foxx situation. Remember that picture of Jamie Foxx's hairline where it kind of came in and did that?
Oh,
I don't know
Jamie
what
Foxx
that was
hair.
supposed to get away
Hmm.
with. But yeah, sorry, Joe McHale, if you're listening. But yeah, I started Community last week because one of my coworkers told me that it was a good thing to watch. I didn't realize that it was a community college type show.
Uh,
Um, yeah,
I
community
watched it. I
college.
just realized I watched a few seasons on my way to. I watched a few seasons on my way. I stopped at my brother's house on my way from North Carolina to Texas, and
Mhm.
he was watching it, and I was like, "What is this show?" And I didn't realize that's where Yvette Nicole Brown. That was
Yeah,
she was on that show, and I only knew Yvette Nicole Brown. This is so sad to say, because she was so obsessed with The Walking Dead. Like she has
really.
notebook. Yes, they would bring her to the Talking Dead, and she would talk with the host like regularly. And I didn't know that's where, because I would always see the meme of the Lord has tested me, and I was
Yeah,
like, "Where is it from?" And I watched a few episodes, and I can see why people would find it funny. It's not like mockumentary or anything,
yeah.
and it's funny. It's fun to see Troy, which is Childish Gambino or
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover,
Dan
Daniel.
old.
Donald Glover's character just be a silly, happy guy. Like it's just
Right?
like he doesn't have to be so serious, especially as like a black man. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to be stupid or simple
No kind
or
of trope or anything that he's trying to fit
right.
into. It's just okay, he's a student at the school.
Yeah.
There were some things like my coworker when she asked if I watched it and when she suggested it, because I work at a community college, she was like, in the later seasons, there's a lot of stuff that really hits home. It like reminds you a lot of some of our students. It reminds you of just like some of the administrative stuff that we're doing or that's going on, which I have some stuff to tell you about that later on too.
Mm.
Sorry, that's reserved for that's a that's a J and L conversation, everyone. Um, but when she was telling me that, I was like, okay, do I want to watch it if it's gonna remind me of work?
Right.
But it's nowhere near as it's polished. It's very polished. We'll leave it at
Oh,
that.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
complete
doesn't it
thing.
doesn't remind me a lot of my community college experience as a
It doesn't have
student.
that community college grit to it.
Yes. Yeah. Especially being a commuter student.
You don't have that random student just randomly walking by a building just screaming curse words. You don't have
Right.
that vibe. But I can see why people would think that it's a good polished version of community college. Everybody looks very like
Everybody looks well fed, slept good.
professional. Doesn't
Like,
look like any students are sleeping on the streets or anything.
right. Yeah. It doesn't look like they have like troubled lives outside of the
Right.
classroom. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I haven't gotten into watching it because it didn't really like pull for me. But now I'm kind of
Yeah.
thinking maybe, but I have like so many shows that I have to
Me
catch up
too.
on.
I
I
just
have so
watched the
many
first
things.
episode of White Lotus today,
I
and
don't even know what I have heard of it. I have heard of White
yeah,
Lotus.
it's
Is
on
that on
HBO.
HBO?
Yeah,
Yeah.
HBO, and
Yeah.
it
HBO keeps
was
trying to feed me Bill Maher and White Lotus, and I was like, I feel like your algorithm is messed up because when have I ever watched the show?
something is off, right? Like clearly you watched one thing or put one thing in your list that gave the wrong impression of who you are and what you're about.
I
Sometimes
was
that'll happen
really
in my
thinking maybe I don't watch HBO Max enough because when I do log on to HBO Max, it's typically to get the full episode of the John Oliver show last
Mhm.
week tonight.
I need to
But
start watching. Everybody
or
keeps
like
talking about
Scooby
it.
Doo or any of the Cartoon
Yeah.
Network stuff. But at no point did Bill Maher ever get typed into any search bar.
That'll happen sometimes with my TikTok algorithm where I'll just be scrolling and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing too many like people with kids. Sorry, people with children, but I'm seeing too many babies in here and stuff. Something took a turn. Like, where are my food
Right.
videos? Where are the
I
people
don't
falling down the stairs?
this is not my content. Like when YouTube, I know we have taken like a
We take
spiral.
such a turn. We're gonna bring it
Um,
back to the manager. The algorithm
when
is a
YouTube
manager of sorts. So
when YouTube started showing me like staunch black conservatives.
I remember your concern when you brought that up to me. You were like, okay, I was listening to what one specific person was saying, but they're showing me a lot of stuff.
I was like, what?
But if you think about it, that's how people get sucked into those like that extremism stuff. But you had
Yeah.
a lot of people don't have the wherewithal to think like, okay, this programming is telling me and trying to push this specific thing onto me.
Hmm.
Why is it trying to do this? A lot of
Right.
people just go with it like, oh, I like this content. I want more. And then they find themselves in that hole of just whatever perspective it is, they find themselves in that hole of just
Yeah.
echo chamber and
Whether
just
you're trying to figure out where banana pudding came from, or
Mhm.
you're trying to understand what happens in the Netherlands, or if you're trying to, did you leave your banana pudding out?
No, now I gotta Google that later on. I know it's an American thing, but now I gotta research it.
Or like even especially with politics, like everybody makes everything so political.
Mhm.
I finally got out of the hole of, which I don't know how it keeps trying to sneak back in, but I keep like, do not recommend channel, do not recommend
Stay
channel.
away. Get
Especially when
back.
they were doing the whole black women against black men thing, when they
Mhm.
were doing the whole Andrew Tate thing or Kevin Samuels thing, or people who
Extremely polarizing things.
it's so polarized. Like it's just like, why are we one like I just want to hear balanced commentary from a person who is not raging from their basement. Like why are we doing this?
That's what frustrates me about a lot of content on all the social media sites. Everything is just this or that. And we've talked
Yes.
about that before, that
Yes.
false dichotomy that always comes up.
Mhm.
I hate that. It feeds into that hyperbole that I see all the time in social media where everything is just best song ever. And then it's like, okay, no, this is best song ever. And then it's people going against each other. But everything is just so polarized. There's no room for conversations where there's gray area. It's just, this is my
Mhm.
belief. This is what I'm holding on to. Okay, let's find someone with an opposite belief and just pit them against each other. We're not going to have a
Right.
middle ground. It's just so we can have buzzwords and just have different clips that we can share, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I
it's
just
extremely frustrating.
I think that we have gotten so used to talking to a camera from our own perspective
Mhm.
that we neglect to actually hear what someone else is saying,
Yeah,
and not even just hear what they're saying to respond, but just let it sit with you for a second.
yeah. To
Like,
hear it, to
yeah,
process it, to analyze it in your mind, and then formulate a response instead of just reacting. Everything is reactionary.
right, yeah,
We
somehow
sound old, by the way. We sound
over the
very
last
old.
over the last 2 days, my YouTube algorithm is now back to um, West African food
Okay.
and builders,
Okay.
woodworkers. Like I'm back on the woodworkers bandwagon of just like, how did he? Wait a minute now.
Send me
Hold
some of
on.
those woodworker videos.
Wait a
Actually,
minute. I don't plan on building a deck, but just watching you do it is just amazing.
it,
Um,
right?
it's like, especially the wood turning people. Oh, I am mesmerized.
Mhm.
Oh, how does your brain know what's happening in so yes, so I feel like watching people build, watching people do this instead of like somebody who was just sitting in their car ranting about how children, men, women, Republicans, Christians, Muslims, or whomever like are bad people. And I'm like,
Mhm.
or the best thing ever. And it's like, can we stop
Mhm.
using like extreme superlatives because things could just be good.
Yeah,
Like you can like the thing. That's okay. You don't have to make it like everything can't be the best thing that you've ever done.
everything can't be iconic, legendary.
Right.
We
And
have to
I
have some
think
Baja men out there. Okay. We have to-
there's gonna be some Baja men where it's like, okay,
It
yeah,
was a good,
that was
not a
that
good moment. I want to say a good moment because it was a
was
horrible
that
song.
1990? No, that was 2001, I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it
it was
was like early
2001.
2000, like 2000, 2001, something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2001.
Yeah,
Um,
guarantee you're
yeah,
right.
that was my jam for a minute.
2000, really? It was 2000.
It was
What?
2000?
Really?
Wait, for which one?
But Who Let the Dogs Out?
Oh no, that Who Let the Dogs Out was 99. I thought you were saying I thought when I hear Baja Men, um I don't hear Who Let the Dogs Out. I hear Best Years of Our Lives with Shrek. And that one came out
Oh,
2001, I believe.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, makes me wanna dance. Oh, it's a new romance. I love that song. And so that was my jam for a very long time.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Um,
But I feel like just being a
yeah,
leader is
energies,
something
man,
that
right? Being a leader. Yeah,
people
just
really should
perfect
take into
segue, Leah.
consideration all the things that it takes to be one.
It's a great
And
segue.
yeah, just just being a leader. It's not just a title. Like it's an act of service.
Yeah, and it's not just one specific role, it's an understanding of people, how they operate, and anticipating how they'll operate in certain situations. Like some team members, are going to crash if you ask them to answer the phone. You know it's not going to go well. They may try to do it,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I'm one of those team members. I'm not good on the phone. I make it known to people. I'm not good
Yeah.
on the phone, but I can do what I need to.
Mhm.
But I know that there are stronger people on our team that can do this, so I pick up the slack elsewhere. So leaders need to have that understanding of how you can pull things from one place, put it in another place to keep this team strong, keep
Right.
everyone feeling good
Yeah.
about
Because
what they're doing.
you can push people, but one thing I have learned, well, there's many things I have learned, but this thing is people are going to have a narrative that you may not always agree with, right?
Mhm.
And which their actions may not always agree with. But if they think they can't do something, there's nothing you as a leader can do to convince them of such. Like that's something they
Mhm.
have to really like break down in that narrative. You can keep telling them, hey, you're doing a great job. And they're just like, oh my gosh, I suck. I suck. I suck. And they're sitting with their thoughts 24/7 and you see them maybe 7 hours a day. Right.
Mhm.
And then there's also people who can give it their all, give it their best, and they still don't reach even the baseline level of success in
Mhm.
in that position. And you as a leader have to understand that to weigh them differently because maybe they are doing their best, maybe they are trying as hard as they can,
Mhm.
and this is just not the role for them. And it's not
Right.
a way to like kick them to the curb or
It's
treat
not
them
a
like
dig or
trash,
anything.
but
It's just
let's redirect where we're putting
right.
this energy because
It's good
I
energy.
know
It's just not in the right
that
place.
you can achieve success.
Mhm.
This is just not the space that you're going to do it in because you can
Right.
try and do everything the right way. You could try to do everything to the best of your ability and still not reach the mountaintop.
Yeah.
It just happens like that.
Yeah.
So I encourage all of you out there who are looking to be leaders, or if you are leaders and you're like, I don't know how to be a good leader. get feedback from your team, get feedback from
Yeah.
your employees, from your
From your
peers.
kids.
That's
Parents are
true.
leaders. Older siblings are
If you have kids,
right.
you know, whatever industry you're
You're
in,
their first manager.
yeah, be willing to accept responsibility, criticism, all that other stuff. That is where you can start to be more of a learner and be more open to be better as a leader.
She said sips water. Oh.
And with that, Jason,
Me?
plug away.
TikTok, Instagram. The other one's Twitter. Actually, YouTube too. I have my new YouTube handle now. So I claimed my JJ underscore Newberry handle on Twitter or on
Oh, I need to
YouTube.
do that.
Yeah, you should do that because I'm gonna grab it if you don't. Okay, no, it won't. But yeah, all the socials. JJ. Oh my goodness. Joy underscore JJ underscore Newberry at all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Catch me there.
I don't know if I
two
like
videos.
that. I don't know if I like that voice.
I have 2 videos on TikTok now. So
Look at you.
there you go. Look at me. Look at me, but only twice because there are only 2 videos.
Unless you watch it repetitively, and then you only see the 2 things. But one of them is Misty, but it's okay.
You're not wrong.
After you follow Jason, please make sure to follow the podcast wherever podcasts are found, especially where you found this one, because I mean, if it's on YouTube, subscribe. If it's on Amazon, subscribe. If it's on Apple Music, subscribe. Google Podcasts, wherever you find it, share it with a friend. We're also on social media at Take a Space POD, that's Take a Space Pod, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. So thank you very much for your support. We definitely appreciate you. We'll see you all in a few weeks because we're going to be spending time with our families.
Holidays. Oh, I'm so excited for your mother.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much for listening. I hope that you all have a great, wonderful day. And if we don't see you before Thanksgiving, you know, if you celebrate, especially because we don't really celebrate Thanksgiving, we just get together because everybody got the day off.
We celebrate family.
Right. It's just family at this point.
Yeah.
So, you know, make sure to love on your loved ones, tell people you love them as often as you can. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.